Alright, a very good morning. You are watching the Kokoliriko live show that comes every Monday to Friday. Today is the Friday edition of the show. My name is Federick. Dramadri will be taking you up to the hour of 9 a.m. It is just 18 minutes past 7 a.m. and we'll be taking you up to that time. And remember, we will be having also the news in Lubarati that will come after this show immediately, and thereafter we'll be having other subsequent shows and also really interesting programs that will be coming on your way. Remember, today is Friday. You will have the Islamic hour that will also be here. You will be able to get many more other programs, and those that have been there in day out, and you'll be also get interesting topics or shares within this show. And remember, this is a topical show. You can easily join this by actually moving to your YouTube channel and also be able to really share with us where you're watching us from, and also share with us your thoughts about some of the topics, some of the issues that we're discussing here within this show. And remember, there is a lot that is going outside there. But before we go there, let me welcome all of you who are watching us right away now, and also try to share with me that you are watching me from this area. That is very, very important. That's one thing I'll be able to really be glad of, and I'll be able to share with those of your people, your colleagues, your relatives, people who want to also know where you are. This is one way you can be able to link with one another, and this platform is there for you to understand what is actually happening within your area, within your country, and within the continent, and what is it that can be done, what is it that is not going right. You should be able to be informed from this. So remember, there are a lot of stories that are running, and also remember the trip of the State Minister for Economic Monitoring is still on, and today she is expected to be in Pakwats district. This is after a successful visit in Madiokolo district. Remember, she has actually moved to 3 districts in Western region, that is including the city, and the impact of her move have been really immensely witnessed by some of the district leaders, and also they have been able to attest that actually this has improved the urge for supervision, monitoring, and also pushing for accountability for the resources deployed by government, and also really ensuring that the beneficiaries or the citizens are able to really get that vibe of receiving reports about the progress of the programs and the projects that are being implemented in their areas. And this is one way that the issues of accountability is to be really looked at. And so many other issues are still moving on, and we'll be also highlighting on some of the issues that we'll be discussing here. Remember, the issues of flash floods in Ajuman and the Amur districts is still worrying. And remember, yesterday we were able to witness that over 5,000 have been pushed away by floods, and this is one thing which is really affecting the people in Ajuman district, which is in West Nile region. But also in Amur district, there are a number of people who have been also affected by the floods, and this extends up to the bordering ends of South Sudan. And remember, this has been really an annual thing that has been really affecting the people in this northern Uganda, and this is actually attributed to the low people who settling in lowlands, and also around the lakes or the rivers, river banks that we have in the region. And this is one area that I think the environmentalists and also the entities that are responsible, for instance, the National Environment Management Authority, should be able to really actually take an action from here and look at avenues of how we could be able to curtail this, because we have seen these occurrences or the floods occurring every year. Okay, it is an annual kind of thing, but what is it that we can derive as a long-lasting solution, other than all the time asking for aid from the office of the Prime Minister each and every year or each and every rainy season. We are looking for blankets, we're looking for food, we're looking for carpets, for shelter and so on, every time when it floods in these districts. And yet we could have a long-lasting solution. Can we look for an alternative, or maybe relocating the people who have ever been affected at this kind of points to maybe a better dry lands and so on, to ensure that really we don't overspend on those kind of things. Maybe you may never know, in a nearby future, when this occurs, it may now turn into death trap. Many people would even die from this, because really when a house is submerged in the water, there's expectations of some of these houses collapsing, sometimes on people and so on. It really affects a lot, and people are losing a lot of crops, animals and so on. That is one thing that is quite bad, that we will say, for human beings, because really where we're heading to is after December we'll be expecting a lot of dry spell coming, and that means there will be famine. If your crops have been submerged in water, they rot, and also others washed away, plus your animals, that means you will be rendered into extreme poverty that cannot really keep you really for long and make you really progress. And that's where really we feel like there's need for urgent attention for this issue and also many others. Remember, we'll be having guests shortly at some point, and we'll be discussing about the commercialization of politics in Uganda and how really this has affected the young people. And that's where our emphasis will be. And remember, the Equal Opportunities Commission published a report that is evaluating the 2022-2023 financial year, and also looking at really how services have been rendered and also equity has been achieved. Remember, the latest report actually indicates that 12.3% of the representation of people in parliament, especially the young category, is only witnessed out of really 100% of the people who are in the 11th parliament. Now, if you look at the 11th parliament, you realize that majority of the people in that parliament are above 35 years old, and that means the young people are not seen anywhere. And if you look at the election statistics that we show in 2021, you realize that the voter turnout, the majority, that is 40.8%, were the young people below the ages of 35 years. But what is the problem? That's one thing that we want to understand with our guests that we'll be having, and also really try to see how best this can be addressed. Is it one thing that we should be able to continue seeing each and every time elections come, or is it that the young people are actually not interested in these positions? That is one thing we want to see, and really have your views on this. And the viewer, you should be able to now engage us with or engage with us in that topic at that point when we will be having the guests here. You should be able to really share with us your thoughts, your opinions in relation to really ensuring that there's inclusiveness, and also looking at the aspect of how really the young people could be fully represented in terms of regional balance, in terms of equity, in terms of ages. Okay, that is very, very important, because if you look at the age bracket right now, you'll wonder whether these are young people who are representing the young people, or these are people who are adults but in the shoes of the young people. That's what we'll be also dissecting here. There are a lot of other stories that you could be talking about. There were two school administrators that were arrested after denying PLE exams for learners. That is because really the learners did not complete payment of dues, and that's one unfortunate thing. And these people have been arrested and are being tried in courts of law. And because really education is actually one of the basic human rights that government is supposed to deliver to the people, it's a right that you should be able to have. access to education is one of the obligations of the government to ensure that citizens are able to really go to school and also have quality education. And once this is not done, and this or once it is frustrated by some figures or players in the education system, and then government has to really take an action. And that's, I think, that action of arresting the school administrators was a positive one, and really can really solve the issues of literacy, but also extortion. Okay, many times these private institutions take to the mantle of really actually overcharging parents and so on. Sometimes the figures, if you look at the detailed analysis of the issue that was really resulting to the arrest of these people, you realize that some of them are just left with 20,000 Ugandan shillings, 100,000 Ugandan shillings. How can you not really pardon a parent from that kind of point? Maybe somebody has paid 180, is left with 20,000 to complete the 200. Can't you pardon this learner to go and sit for the exams, and you confiscate maybe the results, and then the parent comes and offsets this money later on? And I don't know what is actually creating that panic for the school administrators to do these kind of actions, but we'll be trying to see whether the results from the court will be positive in favor of the learners, and that's one thing that will be putting an eye on and also be following. And remember, the issues of the national justice transition justice policy is still one big story there that is still affecting the victims of the war. And remember, this has not been up to date really approved. Okay, it was supposed to be really approved by the cabinet and also the president for it to be effected. Remember, this policy started way back in 2019, but also there were amendments to this, and you realize that many people have been left out because really you can't determine how much a war victim is supposed to get based on the impact of the war on such a person. And this has left so many war victims in northern Uganda actually just limping in need of aid. But this has not been really one thing that has favored them, and they are pushing forth to ensure that really government moves faster in tracking this national justice policy that will be able to give them a leeway to have that law approved and also get benefits from that. Let's take a break from here. When we come back, we'll be able to move into some of the issues that are at hand and also try to see what we can be able to deliver right away. And your participation is very important from here. Let's take a break here. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league, go for it.
Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that commercial break. Earlier on, we are highlighting on some of the issues, and remember the issue of school proprietors actually expelling learners from exams is one trending issue that is going on from both PLE, that is the primary leaving examinations that are meant for those who are completing primary schools. Okay, the P7 candidates are actually on for the last papers today, and also those who are sitting in for the Uganda Certificate for Education, that is the senior 4 candidates, are also still moving on with their exams, but we have seen, notably seen that most of the proprietors, especially in private schools, are actually denying learners who have not completed these dues. Talk about the school fees, talk about those other requirements, they are denying them exams, and that's one thing that has actually led to the arrest of many of them. And if you look at the statistics of arrests that have been made from the last 2 weeks, you realize that at close to 10 people have already been arrested. Yesterday there were 2 that were arrested also, and this is one unfortunate thing that you will ever say. And somebody has started reading books from nursery up to P7, that is 11 years, and you the final exam you deny for this kind of passion. Really, it is quite frustrating, and also really makes learners to feel bad when they are actually dismissed from exams and so on like that. It actually mentally disturbs them so much, and that is one key area that I think the invigilators should be able to look at once they realize those kind of cases. Much as they are not supposed to really interfere with the school activities, the routine school activities, but it is prudent enough that really these learners be okayed or given that chance of going to further with the education without interruption, because really the agreement of school fees payment is not between you and the learner, it is between you and the parent or the guardian who is actually sponsoring this child in as far as the issues of education is concerned. Because really, if you look at some of these learners, they are the ones looking for their own fees by themselves. You realize that some of them go and do leisure work, work for people, casual laborers and so on. They eventually they come back to school and really pay these monies. But sometimes when these monies accumulate, really the school administrator should be able to understand that this person has been with me here for the last 7 years. What is it that you cannot understand because he has not really been able to complete? It's not that totally they have failed to pay 1 cent, but they have been able to pay at least 70%, 80%, and there are people who have been able to even push it up to 60%. This you can really pardon. Even somebody has gone up to half of the monies. Really, can't you pardon such a passion? Maybe there could be something somewhere wrong. We should be able to, the investigators who are doing those kind of, handling such kind of cases need to understand what is actually behind this. Is it that the school proprietors could not really be able to afford to run these schools without even maybe 10% of the learners paying? Or is it that they are entirely depending on these learners? Because really, if you are establishing a business, for instance, you should be able to have your own capital before you start depending on the buyers and the sellers, okay? Before you start depending on the profits that will be coming. And that's one great thing we should be able to really look at. When you are licensing these schools, we should be able to assess the capacity of the proprietors to handle such a business in case of calamities. Maybe for instance, when COVID pandemic broke out, many schools closed, and up to now they have not really regained the status. Okay, they have not been able to open because people were just depending on the parents, and instead of really having side businesses to run, because sometimes people venture into the school establishment because they feel like it is just one-way venture that you'll be able to receive money from the parents. There's nothing you are selling out apart from really paying the teachers and maybe some little meals that you can be able to provide for the teachers. This is where really we need to really look at that aspect of who is to establish a school and what capacity does the person have. And some of these people are primary teachers establishing schools like in primary schools, and you realize that others are even establishing schools that they don't have any knowledge of running a school. A business person is establishing a school and doesn't know really how a school is supposed to be run. You realize that this person is profit oriented, looks at how much am I getting per term. And those are some of the things that you see many times. The private school institutions, proprietors are every term increasing dues, the charges. That's why you see some of the requirements things that do not exist, like payment for toilet papers, this and those many other things. And then yet these are standard facilities or materials that are used for cleaning, and these are supposed to be provided by the school. But you realize that the learners are the ones who are really moving with these things to the school, and those are things really we need to really look at as inspectors, as supervisors or the education officers, that we need to really look at some of those things, whether this person is really ready to sustain the kind of system he's venturing into. Talk about the education system. If you are venturing into education, do you have the capacity? Do you have the knowledge of running an institution? Is it worth that you will be able to really do something along this line? And those are some of the things that we want really people to really look at. For instance, those who are really establishing institutions, they should be able to fulfill some of these requirements. We've seen some people establishing schools in areas where there are no spaces. You have a shop that is being rented out as for a school, and what the person does is to fence off the area. But where do the learners play? Where do the learners maybe get space for resting and also chatting with the colleagues? That's one thing we really need to look at if we want to really achieve the quality we want, okay? Because right now, if you look at the statistics in the globe, Uganda is actually 166 out of 195 countries. And this is attributed to really the privatization nature of education that we have. But also looking at the financing to the education sector by government is one thing that is actually wanting right now. Sectors like education and health, these are really the areas where we need a lot of money being put, because they directly affect the community. When you put little resources into education, into health, these are really areas where communities want a lot of services. So we need to really look at those areas, very, very critical. But those who are expelling learners from schools from sitting, the directive was very, very clear that you should not be able to do that. And your agreements with the parents should be with the parents, not the learners. And that is one key area we should be able to follow legally, very rightly. And let's move away from that. I already introduced you, maybe if you watched the Nilecast yesterday, there were issues of non-payment of workers' salaries or wages that you may talk about. There are so many aspects of workers suffering, and clearly when we were for the monitoring exercise with the State Minister for Economic Monitoring in Arua District, it was clearly indicating that the 1.6 billion Ugandan shillings COVID-19 facility that was actually established, that is being established in Arua District, was one thing where really there's a lot of bureaucracy that is seen, and also payment of workers is not up to date. You realize that in a letter actually that was signed on the 4th of November, directed to the Ministry of Health and copied to the district leaders, you realize that the workers are actually demanding over 9.378 billion million Ugandan shillings that have not been paid. And this is actually arising from the behavior of some of these contractors. The contractor in question is Doxa Engineering Limited. That has really had really poor workmanship with the employees, and you realize that when these people are, according to the testimonies actually from the workers, when they are recruited, once the site engineer sees that your monies have accumulated and they realize that it is a big volume, they chase you away from the workplace, and that is one critical area. And these workers were not actually given agreements to sign, contracts to sign, no ID, and many of them are complaining about the issues of protective gadgets, okay, which are really very critical areas. Remember, our Employment Act is very clear. That is 2016. As amended, really is very clear on this, and is very punitive in relation to the impacts of these kind of things. Workers' protection is one big area that we should be able to really look at. If you look at the statistics in 2021, really many people suffered in the hands of these contractors, and that's why really government thought wisely that the aspect of welfare of workers should be really one big issue that we should be able to look at as far as implementing the issues of contract awarding and also workers recruitment at every point of work. And that's why really this is very critical. And if you look at some of the discussions that we had with some of the people on ground, you realize that 2 times workers have gone to police to register cases, and their monies have been paid through police. So should this be one of the behaviors that we should be maybe showing to other people as far as the workmanship is concerned, the relationship with the workers is concerned, and that is one big area we should be able to look at. If you look at that COVID-19 screening center that is constructed there, it caters for both the truck drivers or the travelers along the customs, and also those who are within the vicinities of the customs. And this was one intervention which was said to be the second in Uganda, that is to cater for the detection of diseases among travelers and also many other things. And in this, it has been many other services have been incorporated where we'll be having all these diseases that can easily be transmitted through maybe business, okay, through these people who move up and down, talk about the travelers and so on. The diseases like HIV, the diseases like yellow fever, and many others that will be screened at that point. And currently works at the site estimated to be at 80%, and this is after really exhausting the contract period. The contract period has ended and there has not been an extension, and up to now you realize that workers are moving to police to register cases. Many have written a lot of letters, and this is one big area. But if you look at the conversation with the site engineer, he proved to be actually one person who is canny, who does not want to really say the truth. What is their challenge in terms of facilitating workers, in terms of also expediting the process of executing the contract. Okay, that is one thing. And this was one hybrid procurement that was done by Ministry of Health, and this is a World Bank funding to COVID-19 response. So it is very difficult for local governments to actually monitor some of these projects, but also looking at the aspect of the contract, the breach of contract. For you to take an action, it has to be really taken by Ministry of Health, and that's one area that has been really affecting the local governments in as far as looking at the implementation or looking at advocating for the welfare of the workers and many other issues as far as they are concerned with the contract breaches. And it is very prudent enough that we need to understand that the hybrid procurements have already had a very great impact on the local governments in terms of monitoring the projects and also in terms of looking at what can be done in executing some of these projects. We have seen so many other projects collapsing. Talk about the value, actually the value addition facilities that have been constructed under the Agriculture Cluster Development Program, which are really in many parts of this country that have not been completed. And also talk about the bridges that were still under the Agriculture Cluster Development Programs. These entities or the ministries that have been awarding contracts centrally have actually made the work difficult for the lower local governments, and this really accounts to really misuse of public funds. Okay, many times when people do not really get the services that they desire, and also the projects or the contracts that have been awarded, if they are not executed, at the end of the day, we'll really realize that money is already used up, but the services are not delivered to the people. So that's one critical area that we need to really look at if we want to go further as far as achieving the targets of development in this country is concerned, but also looking at some of the other aspects of the livelihood or the welfare of workers. Welfare of workers is one key area, and if you look at the Employment Act critically, it will clearly stipulates that once a company does not provide for the welfare of the workers, and also look at the aspects of safeguarding them, such a company is actually supposed to be fined 1 billion Ugandan shillings or really be terminated off, because really it cannot hold its workers responsible or really account for their welfare. Okay, the welfare of these workers is very, very important. Looking at the aspects of preventing them from accidents, preventing them from really moving into thinking other way around. I mean, maybe somebody moves away with cements and so on, the materials that have been deployed on site for works. That's just because maybe they have not been paid and so on. It makes a lot of work difficult. And the Employment Act is very clear that once I've worked with you for 4 months, okay, for 4 months consecutively, and you have been paying me, that means I'm ready your staff. Even if we don't have a formal agreement or a formal contract that we sign, even if I don't have an ID, a work ID, provided you have been able to pay me for the last 4 months, and then I become your worker, and I am entitled to claim for my rights. And that's one critical area that all these contractors need to understand. If you want to venture into business, you must first understand the Employment Act of this country. That is very, very critical. And if you don't understand it well, please allow any legal person to interpret for you what it is all about, what is contained in the law, so that you are able to really do the needful that it desires before you breach any of them and your company is terminated. Let's move away from that. And earlier on, I introduced to you that we have already alarming cases of people being pushed away by flash floods. Okay, flash floods have really caused a lot of distractions in Juman district, and this is one critical area. And if you look at the publications by many different media houses, and also look at what really the district leaders were able to say, you realize that these are people who have over time been affected by floods. The over 5,000 people who have been really displaced and been pushed away from their homes really are people who have been suffering there over time. So what is it that we can really tap into? For instance, the disaster management committees that we have in the local governments, they have a responsibility. They are only to really document how the magnitude of the destructions done by these kind of calamities, or they are there to actually mitigate the destructions. First of all, creating awareness, ensuring that people who are in the disaster-prone areas are moved away from those areas and taken to or resettled in better areas and so on. Could this be one of the things that we are doing? Because we have seen many times government approving supplementary budget for disaster management in this country. But up to date, we have not seen the lower local governments really taking it up responsibility to really look at the aspects of helping the people or the citizens in these disaster-prone areas. Apart from really the sensitizations, what much think could they do? These are things that we want to really bring to your attention. One of the aspects of this committee, or the nitty-gritties that we'll be expecting from this kind of committee, is to ensure that messages, early warning messages are sent to the communities or the people before really something goes wrong. You realize that many times the leaders or these committees find themselves not facilitated. Even at the lower local governments, in the councils, there is no vote for disaster management or response, and it makes it difficult. We have not seen any maybe vehicle or bicycle allocated for this kind of committee, and yet these are people who are supposed to move to the communities and understand what is going on, and also be able to really push for the agenda of ensuring that people are protected. People are protected from this kind of disasters, and also look at other mechanisms of ensuring that people do not have really challenges with this kind of calamities. Many times we have seen the zones or the areas that have been demarcated to be affected by disaster. Many times we know them. Many times the district leaders know them, the LCs know them, but we are quiet about it. You see somebody is constructing maybe in the buffer zones of the river, somebody is digging, you don't take action. As a community member, you can't report these kind of cases, and you feel good that my tomatoes can do well when they are planted in dry season in wetlands, those streams and so on. And you feel like rice can only do well when we plant it in a swamp, And you feel like I feel cold, I feel better when I construct my house near a river, or a lake or a valley, and that's where I feel comfortable. And those are things really that can really bring to these kind of things, the situations that you are seeing in some of the areas that you are seeing. Many times these are people who have settled in lowlands, people who have settled along the buffer zones of rivers, valleys, streams, and so on. But now when it comes to the impact of these kind of challenges that come, maybe floods have maybe gotten up with their houses and so on, animals swept away. You see people complaining, government is not helping us, the leaders are not helping us enough, and so on. These kind of challenges begin coming, and yet they are responsible for the impacts of whatever they are experiencing, and yet they cannot really turn away or move away from those kind of impacts that are being coming out. And it's upon us, the citizens, to take it in the positive way. We have seen, for instance, in Bududa district, where really ministry, the Minister for Disaster Preparedness really went there and wanted to relocate some people. People rejected being relocated to better areas, and this is because people's attitude have not been really that positive one. Because if you don't want to be relocated to a safer place and you feel like you are comfortable staying in a disaster-prone area, should we blame government at this point? That is one thing we really need to take in the positive. And we should be able to really look at whether this kind of structure I'm putting is worth keeping me for long. Sometimes people do not want to spend so much into buildings, and yet this is where you are housed. This is where you spend most of your hours, 12 hours or maybe more than that in a day, in a week. In a day you spend a lot of hours in your room. But if the kind of room you have, or the house you have constructed is not that one that can really keep you in a safer side, you should be able to really change the style of that construction or the materials that have been used. We should not compromise quality in favor of savings. Okay, that is one big issue that we should be able to look at. And also those in the flash flood areas, the prone areas, we should be able to really accommodate these people, and also those who are maybe related to them. You should be able to identify with one and also keep them temporarily for the remaining days until maybe the floods get over. That's when they will be able to go back. But also, really, the disaster management committees, let's do our work. Let's also ensure that amidst all the meager resources that we have, we should be able to really move to the communities and sensitize them, especially on these areas that we have mapped to be disaster prone. Talk about maybe the issues of floods, issues of many other disasters. Talk about fire outbreaks. Maybe we have seen a lot of during dry season people setting out bushes ablaze and so on. But if you have that type of house that is grass thatched, and that's why I was saying you should be able to look at where you have established your house or your home, and look at the quality of the works that have been done. Is it worth where you are supposed to settle and so on? That is one mitigating measure you should be able to take. And that's it. And let's take a break from here. We'll be really coming back and have the guests in, and also be able to digest whatever I said with you. And earlier I told you that we'll be able to come to discuss the issues to do with the issues of commercialization of politics that has really had impact on the young people representation in parliament. And that's it. And let's take a break from here. Shortly, we'll be back. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
We are the passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Start Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Ashraf Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league, go for it. The passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Ashraf Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it. We are the passion you've been waiting for!
It's Yunus Junior Santamu!
It's our league, our football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Ashraf Kukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL. Our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that commercial break. Earlier on we were discussing the highlights of the issues that are happening actually in the Western region, but also the whole country. Remember, the issues of education is very, very important, and remember also the issues of the floods, the disaster management, and so on. The issues that are on West Nile TV, and we have been sharing a lot of issues with you, and those who are watching us right now, you can be able to really share with us your opinion on the issues that we are discussing here. And let's move straight to the issues of politics and also discuss how really a lot of issues to do with commercialization of politics, how it has been able to affect the young people. And that's earlier on I told you that I'll be having guests in, and they are already here in the studios. I have the youth councillor, that is the female youth councillor, Arua City, that is Doreen Oniru, who is also a journalist by profession, and we are happy that you are representing the fraternity in the politics of Arua City. Maybe Doreen, you are most welcome to West Nile TV studios.
Thank you, Dramadri.
Okay, that is her, and on the other hand, I have the familiar face you've ever seen, and also one key area where the civil society is, that is the West Nile Civil Society Network, the executive director, that is Fen Tribe, who has joined us here on this topic. Yes, Fen, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, that is it. Let's move straight to the issue, and the issue is about the commercialization of politics, how it has been able to affect the young people representation in the parliament, the 11th parliament, the current parliaments, the parliamentarians that we have seen there. There's a report that has been released by Equal Opportunities Commission, and this was launched during the roadmap launch of the young people. And you realize that in it, the representation of the young people in the current parliament is standing at 12.3%. And this is really out of the 100% that we have in this country. And that is one big area that has been attributed to commercialization, where the young people do not have enough really to sow or to buy, or maybe to bribe, or you may use all those ways that you can describe it better to maybe woo some of the voters on their side. And that's one big area. Maybe let's have an experience from the young person's perspective. We start from Doreen Oniru. And maybe can you highlight with us how you were able to do your campaigns? Let's start from there. Yes.
Okay, well, thank you, moderator, and good morning, viewers. As Aaron called Doreen Oniru, the female youth councillor, Arua City, as well as in the world of journalism. I'm a journalist by profession.
Yes.
Well, about my politics during 2020 campaigns, it was not really easy, because today's politics is really commercialized, as you said, and as people have known. If you don't have money, definitely you will fail in politics. But however, that time equally me, I didn't have money to do politics. But mine was just, I go, I meet all the youth. Our elections were electoral college. Not everybody voted for us, but electoral college is really so tedious that you'll have to meet each and every voter you have. And even if you have only one voter that is down in Ricky, because my coverage was so very much that it reached up to Ricky, and from Mangasaba to Vudrikali, that is in Ricky, that it was not really easy for me to travel. But the biggest challenge was just the transport itself. But you know, the young people also, like when you join politics, they will say that so and so already joined politics, has money already. So you have to do each and everything it takes to convince them that money is not everything. Because I need to tell the young people out there, money is not really everything. You may find that people who dump money, people who use a lot of money in politics, the moment they reach offices in politics, you'll find that they are not doing the right thing, they are not delivering the services up to date. As a representative of the youth in Arua City, my campaigns, as I said, the coverage was so big that it was also electoral college. Not everybody voted for me.
Okay, there are issues when you talk about electoral college. You realize that many times the candidates are supposed to actually transport at some point, especially the special interest elections, talk about the youth, the elderly, the persons with disability, where you are supposed to transport the voters, and at some point you facilitate them even by going back. These expenses, how do you really look at them? For instance, you are out, you are just coming from school and you want to really venture into politics. Do you think the young people will be able to really cope up with the style of politics we have in Uganda right now?
Well, I would say that the Electoral Commission should really change that electoral college politics itself. To my perspective, it's not really good for the young people like me who have just come out from school, who have just graduated and would want to venture into politics and have nothing at hand and have no money to do the campaigns on ground. You may find that the electoral college is very tedious. You'll have to transport each and every member, each and every voter. During 2021 election, it was not also easy, as I said earlier on. We had to transport. It was, okay, let me start from primary elections. Primary elections, there was no support. Unless you join the politics, you join the party of NRM, you'll get some little support in the general elections. But during primaries, you'll have to transport all these voters into one place that they'll come and vote for you. And during campaigns, you also go and you reach to each and every member in their area of jurisdiction. You campaign to them, you air out your manifesto and everything. You know, it is not easy to convince one person or two people to vote for you, because electoral college does not involve everyone. So during the general election, NRM supported us because in the party of NRM, I stood as an NRM. So in that ticket, they supported us. We had to transport each and every candidate. But on ground, you may find that you yourself, as the person who has stood in politics, the candidate itself, you transport these voters, and you'll find that your opponent has convinced them to vote against you. So it was not really easy. I would urge the electoral commission to really change the type of electoral college voting. It is not really easy for people who have no money, for the young people who are still from school, very fresh and have fresh mind, to really lead the young people in their area, and they don't have money. That was the biggest challenge we had.
Okay, maybe before we move to Feni, I want to understand from the primary elections, because I know NRM always facilitates you once you are already a flag bearer. But before you became a flag bearer, how were you able to really do this? How much did you actually spend in fighting for that flag during the primary elections? Because if we look at the issues of money, it is not always easy for the candidates to really win something to get to the flag bearership. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would say that during primary elections, it was not easy, but however, I've been a leader right from primary up to when I joined university. My parents, when I told them that I want to stand as the youth councillor, I want to try politics, they were able to support me financially. But though I couldn't, the financial support was only transport, not that to convince people to vote for me in 2020. So they provided for me transport, and they were so supportive that they knew my potential. I was also a potential candidate that time. I believed in myself that in case I go into this politics, I'll win it, because I've never failed in any political ground or any contest I've ever stood in. So I told them I want to go into politics. They highly appreciated, and since my mother was also a politician, she said, are you going to win this election? I said, Mommy, trust me. If you win it, I'll also win it. So that is how I started my journey in primary elections. And that is how I won. But I never gave money to these young people to vote for me. But however, I shared my manifesto to them. I convinced them I was a potential candidate to be voted in and represent them in the council of Arua City.
All right, that is it from the experiences, but we'll get back to you later on. Maybe if you look at the statistics that has been really shared by Equal Opportunities Commission, you realize that for you to be a member of parliament, on average, an average member of parliament actually spent 450 million Ugandan shillings. That is one thing that is quite big for somebody who was maybe struggling with school fees and has come out and wants to join politics. And that's one average result that I've seen there. For the LC files, they spent averagely 265 million Ugandan shillings, and that's one of the issues that is talked about with commercialization of politics. Maybe let's move to Feni. Feni, what is the experience? And really, you've been working on the issues to do with the electoral reforms for quite a long period of time, and many times the issues of commercialization, the issues of people giving out money, people giving out handkerchiefs and also capes, sometimes these have been so much really cited in these electoral reforms. What is it that you saw has really made these young people not to appear so much into politics, in leadership, generally in Uganda? Yes.
Thank you very much. First, I want to start by saying I think the kind of the leaders we get to reflect on reflect the kind of the population we have. That's first and foremost. But also too, the issues to do with the monetization of politics. I think this has been something that has been developing over time, and I think that should concern all of us. We have been following this closely. We have a partner that does particular tracking finances for campaigns. So over time, the figures you are mentioning are true. But also, I want to be grateful that people are feeling the impact of spending money in politics. If you hear members of parliament being arrested because they are indebted, I'm happy. Because it will show that next time you don't need to spend. If you find an L65 chairperson after losing election, he becomes a bit disorganized, that's also okay. Because people think politics nowadays is a source of income. That's where you can go and get money, and get rich, you invest to get rich. I think the reason is why people should join politics is to go and offer service to the people. Not because we want to go and get rich, to the extent that we want to invest a lot of money in it, even including borrowing. And I want to say, there was an instance where one of the members, one of the members who actually contested, not really the aspirant as such, in eastern Uganda, I think should be in Senegal, one of the parts of Uganda. My memory can serve me better. After losing election, the guy had to declare himself bankrupt because it was extremely hard to manage some of the debts. Now, what should we do? If the citizens really want to get good leaders, they can get them. First and foremost, if you concentrate on the manifesto of the people and the services that you think needs to be provided, then you need to elect people based on that. Nowadays, people complain that this so-and-so is not working, so-and-so is not working, so-and-so. Because the social contract you entered in with this person was loose in a way that this person bought you and then you give your vote. Now, the person, you may not have moral authority to hold such a person accountable. You may have, but the person will, after all, say, our contract was based on this, it was purchased. So I think those are things that people need to look at. But also, the most critical thing is, you know, the electoral laws we have in this country. I think somehow the problem is also implementation. You know, first and foremost, the issues to do with the bribing voters and so forth and so forth. These things are in law. You are not supposed to do them. But we continue seeing them. Like what my sister was saying, what was saying here. I don't know the difference between bribery and transporting voters to vote for. You know that. It is a thin, I don't know if there is a difference. But also too, now even the youth and these special interest groups, let's take them generally. These special interest groups are more like now becoming like a vehicle for a ruling government, NRM, to actually gather support. I can assure you, if you take the population of the youth leaders in these colleges, I mean the special interest groups, whether it being youth, whether it being elderly, whether it being women, whether it being what, I can assure you, for you to win an election, you have to align yourself with the ruling party. Do you know why? Because they think there are privileges to enjoy. As my sister was saying, it will be facilitated, it will be done this and that and that. So now that should also show for you that these people are actually not going to do the work they are supposed to do with open mind. First and foremost, I want to start by that. And she will disagree with me. And I would really like that to be sure. Now, that should show. Because already you align yourself because you think that's the way you can go through. Now, the issue of youth, I think you don't need just to discuss it in isolation. This thing of monetization of politics cuts across everyone. Whether you're a youth, whether you're an elderly, whether you are a potential candidate, you don't fall within the bracket, it has actually disorganized our political setup of this country. Now, as a result, the guys who are not so competent because they have resources find themselves in leadership positions. Now they cannot do the work. That's why you find in the parliament there are so many people, around 500, I don't know, 540 something, 530 something, I can't remember the number exactly. But you see, the active people are less than 100. It means as taxpayers we are paying a lot of people who are doing nothing. Not nothing, I'm not a politician, who are doing little. They could be doing something. But I think those are things that we need to look at. Now the cost of paying these people is a lot, yet the services that we're getting from them is little. What we can only get from them is coming to when we lose our dear ones, they come, make powerful speeches in burials, powerful speeches in weddings, but because that's why they can talk without being challenged. There is no, yes, that is a monologue. There is no intellectual debate there. For them, they talk in the villages, they talk powerful. So I think that is what we need to look at, even in the council. That's why the quality of our debates, of the debates in the council is one thing. In most of the councils, but across the country, it's one thing. Why? Because the competent ones are out, the ones who are not competent but have resources are in. Look, even leave away that, the other sector, I mean the other heads, for example, the LC5 chairpersons, the LC3 chairpersons and so forth. I can assure you some of these leaders, their ability is one thing. But because they maneuver their way through, that's where they are. Now, what should we do as citizens? What we need to do is to make sure, why are we actually electing these people? What is it that we need from them that they need to do for us? Do we understand what they're supposed to do anyway? Or it is just, let me tell you, most of the reasons why people are voted, it's either because so-and-so is my relative, so-and-so is my friend, so-and-so is my in-law, so-and-so has money, I've eaten his money, I need to pay his or her by the money, or I need to vote for that. So that is the challenge we have. Unless we deliberately come and put to end this, we are going to continue getting the kind of leaders that we get, and the services that they provide will be wanting, and actually what they're supposed to do will be accumulated to the few who maybe go on merit under some of the most tough circumstances that they are in. So I think those are the things we need to look at broadly. We need to do electoral reforms. First and foremost, the special interest groups, we need to do favor to them. They should not transport voters because it is expensive. For example, someone who does not have money cannot contest. Even someone with a disability, or someone who is an elderly, a youth or something, broadly, it is a challenging for them to transport. But also too, the aspect of, from a moral point of view. Now, if I transport someone, is there no possibility for someone thinking that so and so transported me, I shouldn't vote for it? So I think that should also be looked at, whether it is a bribery or it is a facilitation. So that needs to be defined. But also, the last one is, it should give people courage, because now, you see, if people are going to first assess their financial capability before going to contest, I think that will discourage so many people. I think that needs to also be looked at. And we generally, money is, you cannot avoid money in politics. Money is there, but there should be a limit at which the money needs to be used. Because, I mean, there are things like transportation, you need to move to people, you need money. You need to do posters, you need money, you need to make communications here and there, even including supporting your people who help you on ground. You need money. But the extent to which we use money needs to be defined, and then that needs to be strictly enforced by the authority, the entity responsible for managing elections, and also other sister agencies that are supporting, so that we put end to that and get people on merit. Thank you.
Okay, let's really pick Doreen on this other one again. And we've seen the representation of the young people in this country being centered into regions. And this is one thing that might have contributed to the little maybe representation across the country. And then maybe looking at the MPs, for instance, for Northern Uganda, we have one female and one male, and that is it for the whole of Northern region, where we have so many districts and many other town councils that we'll talk about, where we have other MPs coming from some of those constituencies. And is this been one of the best things you will think of as far as our elections are concerned? And also looking at the issues of equity in balancing maybe the edges or the representations in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Maybe you can pick it there.
Well, thank you. I would say that the representation of the young people in Parliament, it's not really up to date. Because Region Bank, out of 557 MPs in Parliament, you may only find 5 youth MPs in Parliament. Out of the 5, the one female is the National Youth MP. So meaning that there are only 4 representing all the regions in Uganda, then one is a national. So meaning the representation of the young people is not really up to date. Region being, you may find that somebody who comes, an MP who comes from the other region, will really concentrate much in his or her region than the other regions that he or she is supposed to represent. And if you look at these youth MPs in Parliament, you may find that the representation is really they're not representing the young people there, because their number is very few. The number is very few that out of 557 MPs, there are only 5 of them. And you may find that most of them, they are concentrating on the areas, the regions that they come from. So leaving out all the regions that also the young people voted for them. Our representation in Parliament, I would urge the increment in the representation of the young people in Parliament, because the number is very meager. And
so how could that be done? How could that be done maybe in relation to balancing the board? Because if you talk about, for instance, if the one for Northern Uganda comes from Langosa region, might be concentrating on development aspects or the interventions at Langosha region. So how could this be really balanced if you want to say that development or maybe the representation regionally balanced well? Maybe we'll answer that after this commercial break because we are already in the time of break, and thereafter you'll just pick it from there, and then we'll go to other discussions later on. Let's take a break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Football, our boys, our style. Star Times UPL new season starts 15th September. Go for it!
What a finish from Master Fukume!
The Ugandan flair, Brazilian samba, Portuguese magic, the night football craze. More TV games live on Senyuka Prime and Fufa TV only on Star Times. The Star Times UPL, our league, go for it.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Okay, welcome back from that commercial break. Earlier on, we were discussing the issues to do with the youthful representation in the parliament, and also how the commercialization, the monetization, the use of money in terms of mobilizing for support, how it is actually triggering the issues that you are seeing in the parliament, the representations, and also the outcome of debates that you are seeing right now. The leadership kind of thing you are seeing right now is attributed to how these people came into the leadership stages or where they are right now. Talk about the LCs, the councillors, the LCs, the MPs, and even the president himself. There were a lot of issues with him coming on board. There were a lot of money issues that were petitioned and so on. If you look at those petitions that were written there, there are a lot of issues to do with bribery, the issues of maybe interfering with other candidates in their camps and so on. Those really were witnessed, and also they were petitioned about that, and that's why you saw a lot of reforms coming out, but the implementations seem not to be really yielding at the moment. But we hope this current one will have an impact on that. And I still have my guests here. We are discussing how really the commercialization of politics is leaving the young people behind in terms of representation in the better leadership structures, and that's where we are picking it from. I have Fen Tribe, who comes from the civil society, that is West Nile Civil Society Network, and also Dornio Nemu, who comes from Arua City Council, who is the female youth councillor representing the city, and also we're discussing those issues with them. But I had earlier asked a question to Dorin about really what should be done in order to have that regional balance? Yes, Doron, if you can pick it from there and we move on.
Well, I would say that to balance the regional youth MPs, maybe I would suggest the MPs the representation should come from each region. Each region should send a representative to the parliament such that the youth will also feel that they are represented in the parliament. But how should that be done? Because when we look at the numbers of the MPs there, it is 557. Now when each region is going to send a representative of the young people in the parliament, so meaning that the increment will go over 700, and the 700 itself, Uganda, if you see Uganda currently, the economy is down. So how is it going to affect the country? It's also going to affect the country negatively. But I would say that the 5 representatives in the parliament should really concentrate on all the regions that they are representing, because they were not voted in the areas that they came from. They were voted in all the countries. The young people voted them in to represent them in the parliament. So they must represent them effectively, not really necessarily concentrating on the areas that they come from. Yeah.
So you talked about increase in the number of youth MPs to ensure that there is regional balance in terms of developments in sub-regions. For instance, you highlighted the issues to do with the I gave you a way to understand it in a perspective. Like, for instance, for northern Uganda, if you have an MP for youths from Lango sub-region, EOC concentrates on that sub-region, trying to ensure that EOC strategizes for the next elections. Once you see these young people growing in politics, they feel like they should be able to look at where they're going to contest, and that's where most times the developments are tailored to. So what should be done in order to achieve this, to ensure that also the representation is of quality? Because if you look at the debates now, you wonder where the young people are speaking, because we have not seen them really live on the floor trying to articulate the issues of the young people. Yes.
Well, I would say that maybe they might be speaking in the committee meetings. There are also committee meetings, but we don't know. Because the representation in the floor of parliament, even if you speak from the committee meetings, it will still come to the parliament itself. But now, I myself wonder where they also speak from. But I would say that this strategizing, where the youth MP is above the age bracket, you will find that the Electoral Commission also should do some reforms in the next coming elections. The youth MPs themselves, the youth representatives, when they go to the parliament or to the council, they should be at the age bracket of 18 years. But you may find that somebody who is a youth who wants to aspire as a candidate or a councillor or an MP would be at the age of 29 years. Still, the Electoral Commission's laws will still allow this person to stand as the youth MP or a youth councillor. But you may find that when this person clocks to 30, just serving a year in the parliament and close to 30, the person will be strategizing to be an MP, a full MP now, not as a youth MP. You'll be now strategizing in the area that you come from. Most of these MPs, I think that is what they are doing. That's why you find that the representation in the parliament is not really up to date. Okay. They are not representing the young people.
Fine. Okay, let's move to Fanny. Fanny, what do you take from that kind of conversation? Talking about the presentation, the quality of debate, the young people are saying, and we have heard from the young person that for them they can now look at maybe contributing in the committees, and it will still come in the floor of parliament. Should that be the way we should be able to represent the young people, or some MPs, maybe because they are not speaking on the floor, they might be also speaking at the other side in the committee meetings. Could that be the best way we should be able to really represent people, and people are able to really see that they are being represented? Yes.
My brother, nobody should see that someone can speak in a committee and then cannot speak at the floor of parliament. I think the truth of the matter is every member of parliament belongs to two committees. All of them have to be in committees. You either in sessional committees or standing committees. So these committees, they do their work and they also report. The reports are coming. They come back to be debated at the floor of Parliament. So anyone has opportunity to talk anywhere. But I can assure you, if you don't see them at the floor of Parliament debating, most likely they're also not there at the committees talking. Now, the issue is we need to even interrogate whether we really need this affirmative action. As, you know, we have been collecting views of people. There are other people who are of the view that the youth, actually all of them needs to be kicked out of Parliament. That is the view of the rest. Others have said, no, we need to maintain them. Now, the ones who are saying we need to kick them out were saying, now, these guys, after when they are elected, as was making a case, but that's a very valid case. Now, by the time someone is being elected as a new member of Parliament, that person could probably be clocking to 30. So as soon as this person is elected, literally, this person does not account, the person feels that he or she is not accountable to that constituency. You get that? Because the person is not going to come back to these people again. Now, that has been the problem. Now, as soon as myself is elected as a member of Parliament for representing youth, and then I'm above 30, I know I'm not going to contest again. They are not going to come and ask for accountability. I do whatever I want to do. Perhaps that explains why these people are poor performers. They don't really are not active in Parliament. I can say this without any fear of contradiction. Whoever has a contrary view can bring forth the evidence and then challenge me on that. That's why these people, as soon as they're elected, they are not actively involved in the affairs of the youth. What is it that a member of Parliament is supposed to do anyway? For me, a member of Parliament, I can best judge a member of Parliament when you actively participate in the preparation of, not preparation really, in the preparation of budget, when a member of Parliament actively participates in legislation, when a member of Parliament actively participates in monitoring. And of course, the president comes automatically. But now, if a member of Parliament is not going to be there and not seen and not coming to consult members, constituent members, I think some of these guys need to also be charged of corruption. Because every 2 weeks, members of Parliament are expected to visit their constituencies. So if the whole of the youth, my sister in Western can take for, I don't know when your member of Parliament last visited you to collect your views. So it means he's being paid for nothing. And I can assure you, members of Parliament who are representing the youth they are paid more than these other members of Parliament who are coming from other constituencies. I mean, directly elected members of Parliament. That's the fact. Now, it means they are just doing little to support the work of the youth that they are supposed to represent. Now, that is something we need to debate. But in essence, what I want to say here is, I think we need to look at the quality. Most of these guys who are elected as youth representatives, by they are from rich families. I can say that this without any fear of contradiction. For example, members of Parliament who are youth representatives, none of them comes from a peasant family.
So
most of them
is that hope of having another president from a peasant family or maybe a poor family coming again? Is that hope coming there?
But I think that's
what look at it now.
To me, Ugandans should get people based on merit. Whoever is from poor family should be given opportunity to serve for as long as the person is good. But let me tell you, some of the best leaders in history, they were got based on merit, and they performed very well. Not that their parents were very rich, they performed. So I think people should be elected based on merit, based on the competence that they have, so that they can offer services very well. Now, this saying that I want to really honestly disagree with my sister that the members of Parliament, their number needs to be perhaps increased so that they represent areas where they come from. I think I honestly disagree with that. What we just need to do is to make sure that the leaders we get are the leaders that can really talk for ourselves, for us, who can do things for us. And if you look at it critically, there are also members of Parliament who are directly elected, but they fall within the youth age bracket, isn't it? So they are also doing their work. So I think the other thing I wanted to say is, you know, if you move across the country, even in Africa, these things are formative. I think for us in Uganda, we have really done it very well. Others really don't. If you, for example, you look at Nigeria, affirmative action, I don't know how it is, but their parliament is vibrant.
Maybe if you are talking about the constituent MPs and they are in the age bracket of the young people. Are they doing it for the young people or they are doing it for all?
No, but
that's one thing somebody will be asking.
Members of parliament legislate for everyone. They don't. You see, that's even why the people who are making case against affirmative action are coming up with this. Members of parliament are supposed to legislate for the betterment of all the citizens in this country, regardless of whether you're a youth, regardless of whether you're an elder, whether persons with disability. A law is supposed to be. Law is not supposed to discriminate first and foremost. The budget they do it for everyone. The work they do is for everyone. You see, there is nothing like if you make a law and then it is targeting particular people, you will be spared. No, anyone is a candidate of anything. Before you become, any member of parliament has children, has youth at their homes. Is it not true? Any member of parliament probably has parents who are elderly. Any member of parliament at least must be having someone who have a special interest of any nature. So members of parliament legislate for all. Now, even if you look at it critically, now that we've put the youth there to represent the interests of youth, what have they done? What is it that I wanted to see some of the bills that have been introduced in the parliament that have gone successful? Is it there anyway? Do they make a spirited case about their constituency? It's not there. So I think what I think should be done is getting leaders who can think for everyone, who can accommodate the views of everyone, as the case is, so that we get the best. And,
Okay.
and having said that, I'm not against young people, but I'm against getting incompetent people to represent the young people. I always tell people, if you put yourself in a vulnerable position, there are things that you're bound to lose. First and foremost, you become a means for someone to achieve his or her own goals in life, and that's for fact. It is true. I've interacted with many stakeholders. So the earlier you realize that you should not actually be vulnerable, the better, and then you fight for yourself. If you think you need affirmative, yes, we will create it, but I can assure you it can benefit a certain section of people. For example, I think the NRM as per se has benefited a lot from the creation of this affirmative, the affirmative
special interest
groupings. The youth, see what she has just told you, for you to make it through, you need to be where? In NRM. Is it not true? Yeah. The elder will look at it the same. The PWDs will look at it the same. So it is already a benefit for a party. Is it not true? Now, leave away that. Now there are other people actually who should have actually benefited from it. Now they are saying, okay, the ones who are doing well, the privileged are now benefiting from it. The less privileged who are supposed to be accommodated are there. You know, there is a way of being vulnerable, but you can have the means to survive. You can make a means to. There is a way you can be having some bit of incapabilities to do certain things, but you're not vulnerable. So these are things that we need to look at. So I think for me, I am not against affirmative action, but I want to see affirmative action really achieving what it is supposed to be for. I want to see women who are participating. Let me tell you, even the women who are in this affirmative action, who are leaders, these are powerful women. The women who are supposed to be there, those who cannot afford and so forth, they are there in the villages. They cannot. That's why you find a powerful lady being elected as a woman member of parliament for 6 years. Even the person, 6 terms, even if I don't know if it's there, would even want to be there up to death. So those are things we need to look at. Perhaps we need to come up with the laws. As said, we need to do some amendment. If we want to get a youth member of parliament, let the age be around 25. I think that 18 to 20, so that you have a sense of accountability. That next time you come back to these guys and say, look, this is how I've done it, because I know definitely we want to go back. If you're a woman member of parliament, you need to serve for 1 term or 2 terms, so that other women also get a benefit of that, including the elderly. Then we'll see, because the whole thing is to accommodate everyone. So let's accommodate everyone.
Okay, let's move to our concluding remarks. Allow me to start with the Fendi. You just wind it from there now.
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, what I want to say is that monetization of elections is something that we need to deal with as citizens. We need to say no to it. Whoever gives you money and the person is not capable, please don't vote. If we do that, we'll really stop it. But also, too, let's be vigilant and also report some of these cases. Say, not even reporting. We tell people, please, what we want is a good road, what we want is a good education, what we want is this, what we want is that. The services, let's concentrate on the services. Because if you are going to give 500 shillings to someone, I can assure you, you are going to sell your road, you are going to sell your a good health facilities, you are going to sell a lot of things. The people will not care about it. Now you are going to pay more money accessing those services than actually the 500 that you have been given. Let's get people on merit, those who can really do the work to serve our country.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that is it from Feni Tribe, who is the Executive Director, West Nile Civil Society Network. And I have this side also, Dorin Oniru. Maybe you can wind up your says about this topic.
Okay, my last thing to the viewers is just that let's vote people who are competent. And you may find that in all these places, like let me take example of the council in Arua City.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have never gone to school, but they're in the council, they are not representing the areas that they come from,
Mm-hmm.
and they are supervising technical staff who have bachelors, who have masters. So how is it? People should really get into these things very deep. Come 2026, vote people who are competent, people who can represent you, because they are going to supervise technical staffs who have masters, who have bachelors, who have diplomas. But now you're taking somebody in the council who is a senior leader, and this person is going to supervise the technical staff who has masters. Is that really sensible? Let's vote people who are competent. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, my dear two guests, for really making it up to West Nile TV studios. But also we had really a very good, remarkable experience sharing about this topic, that is commercialization of politics, how it is able to affect service delivery in terms of also really getting the quality of the persons that we wanted in the office, in the positions that are being created by the Electoral Commission in this country. But I hope if we had also a handover for politics, it would be also good really to evaluate really what you did. Was it really worth or not? And that would be one good interesting thing that everyone will want to see, the summary of what somebody has been able to do in 5 years. But that is it, and up next we'll be having the news in Lugurati. My name is Federick Dramadri, but behind the camera is Dijon Pro, but also I have Aldo, who is in the production department. Up next we'll be having that news in Lugurati. Thanks very much. We hope you'll be really watching the television up to the end of the day. We're out of the studios.